What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the content that I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the latest episode of Ride Along, the Ballad of Elias and Balor Club, featuring obviously Elias, Finn Balor, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. So overall, a very entertaining episode. Apparently, this took place right after Christmas. They were driving from Hartford to Albany, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, that is. And I was at the show in Hartford with my girlfriend right after Christmas. It was a Raw house show. So I believe that's where they're going from, because Elias was on that show, Balor was on that show, as were Gallows and Anderson. So I'll talk more about the Balor Club stuff as we go along. I had thought this had taken place after they were put together on TV. Apparently not, from the way the timeline kind of lines up here. But it does look like they got the news on the ride. They would be teaming up that Monday against the Miz Taraj, of officially forming the Balor Club. So, again, I'll talk more about that as we go on. But to kick off the episode, we see the Balor Club mocking Elias' white Hummer, saying that it was something straight out of the 90s that you would see in WCW. So Balor gets in the car. You have quote-unquote AJ Styles in the front seat. It's a cardboard cutout of the Phenomenal One, which I believe was in the car when Gallows and Anderson did their last ride-along, or their first ride-along, without AJ. And they might have done another one, I believe, with AJ a few months after that. So they have AJ Styles sitting in the back seat with Anderson. Balor's in shotgun. Gallows is driving. Elias gets the car all to himself. So for the first time ever on Ride-Along, we have a car all to one superstar's self. And it's Elias, and he's singing the whole time and sharing stories about his character. Obviously, it's all in character, but it's entertaining nonetheless. So he says that Hartford on this show had nothing to offer him, and that Albany will likely have nothing to offer him either. So he sings Hartford to Albany. That's his first tune of the episode. Carl Anderson shares a story about Tiger Torian showing him a match of Luke Gallows from another promotion or something. And then Tiger Torian said, "Oh, he looks a lot like you. Let's put you in a tag team here in New Japan." And Anderson's like, "I want nothing to do with that guy." And they got put in a tag team, and that's how it became the Bullet Club from that point forward, or soon after they joined forces with Balor, that is. Elias reveals that Chicago, it was there on Christmas, that he revealed that WWE stood for Walk with Elias, and he explains what that means to him. Carl Anderson says the Balor Club, will come together at the right time. And then literally right after that, this can't be a coincidence. Either they knew ahead of time or they found out on the ride, but they edited this part. And it looked a little weird time-wise. So Anderson says during the car ride, Balor Club will come together at the right time. Immediately after that on this episode, Gallows gets a text that says it's going to be Balor Club, Balor, Anderson, and Gallows, taking on the Miz Taraj that coming week on Raw. And they're like, it came out of nowhere, and that's it. That's all we really hear about it. They stop for gas to talk about it for like 2 seconds, and then they move on. So that was really weird. But like I said, this was on the 28th, I think. That was when I went to that Raw live event with my girlfriend. So it was from Thursday to Friday that they found out, apparently, according to this episode of Ride Along. So I guess that would kind of line up. But then again, creative changes their mind like the fucking weather. So I feel like they would not have come up with that idea until Raw came about that Monday. But I could be wrong. It was just weird they found out on this very episode of Ride Along when they just so happened to be together. But at any rate, Elias performs 4 days till tomorrow, or 14 days. I think it's 4 days till tomorrow is the name of the song. He feels like he channels the legends of the past when he's performing. Balor says they need a new Balor Club t-shirt, which they came out with one a couple years ago, but they need an all-new Balor Club t-shirt with Balor's name on it, Anderson's name, and Gallows' name as well. They do some funny accents. Elias says that he cannot be touched by anyone in the ring, or especially when it comes to his performances. Anderson and Balor, they talk about how, I guess a couple years ago at Wrestle Kingdom, Anderson said to Balor, or Balor said to Anderson, "Hey, I'm going to paint myself up for today's show. It's a big event. It's like their WrestleMania. What do you think about it?" Anderson says, "That sounds completely dumb. Don't do it." Obviously, Balor did it anyway, got himself over, so Anderson had no idea what he was talking about. So, yeah, he said it would be stupid. It worked anyway, and it's worked wonders for Balor and WWE, obviously. Elias knew deep down, he says that he knew deep down that whatever he would do would work. So kind of like a shoot comment there. A little bit talking about his NXT tenure and now on Raw. And then everything that he was given, he would make the most out of it and make it work. And sure enough, it has. Carl Anderson shares some more stories. Elias performs a song called I Ain't Happy. And he says, I really am everything. That's what he said. I really am everything. So what he means by that, I have no idea. Apparently Elias is God now, which would not be too much of a stretch. Anderson shares a story about Balor being touched by a Japanese girl. Because apparently Balor had his shirt off or something in public. Some girl was like hypnotized by his physique. So she wanted to go up to him and touch him. And Anderson said it was okay. So weird story, but I can believe that happened. During Elias's ride, he gets a call from Bayley, which again, way too coincidental, and this is all in character as well. So Bayley's like, I've been trying to call you all day, I've been trying to get in contact with you since Raw ended, and this was the same night, or a couple days after Raw, in Chicago, or maybe a week and a half or whatever. It was soon after Bayley had attempted to hug Elias on Raw, and Elias denied her, and then just kept on walking. So Bayley in character calls up Elias and says, I'm so sorry, I thought we were friends. All I want to do is walk with Elias. And Elias says, okay, bye. And it kind of hangs up on her. And that was before they got paired off in the Mixed Match Challenge, by the way. So that was kind of cool to kind of tie that in, considering this was this past week, or last week rather, was the first time they paired up in the Mixed Match Challenge. So after that, the Balor Club in the car, they play a game called Two Lies and a Truth, where Balor shares a bunch of stories. Or maybe it's Anderson. No, Balor shares a bunch of stories about Anderson, their tales together, and Gallows has to kind of decipher which one's the truth amongst the two other lies. And apparently the story that was truth was Anderson falling through a ceiling right onto Balor's lap. Where that was, I believe in Japan, I don't know, but pretty crazy story, and I figured that one was a true one too, because it's so outlandish, it just had to be true. Elias says people request songs all the time, and it irks him. He knows what he will be playing in the moment. In the moment, only then he knows what he will be playing on that evening. The driver of the limo, or the Hummer, or whatever, he asks Elias if there's anything he can get for him, if there's anything he can do for him, and Elias just ignores him. He rolls up the window, and that's it. He doesn't say a word to the poor driver, which I thought was hilarious. Balor shares a quick story from TakeOver Dallas from about 2 years ago. So it was the match with Samoa Joe, and I had no idea this even happened. I did not know this story. I didn't even know this was a thing. But apparently, during that match with Samoa Joe, where they were beating the living shit out of each other, probably the best match those two had in NXT. They had some really, really good matches, but that was probably their best match. They're beating the shit out of each other. Joe is all bloodied up. Balor gets some of the blood on him. And he's also sweating like crazy. And the sweat's going down his fucking backside onto his ass. So why he's sharing this story, I don't know. But anyway. So he says that when Joe picked him up for the Muscle Buster, you could see what a lot of fans apparently thought was a poop stain on his shorts. Balor is here to say it's not a poop stain. It was me merely sweating my ass off, and it, caused a stain in my shorts or my trunks, whatever. Why people would even be looking at Balor's ass to decipher that it was a poop stain, or even see, I had no idea that was even there. Why do people look at this type of shit? It's so fucking weird. Like when AJ Styles' shorts, there was a hole in them a couple years ago. I think it was a TLC about a year and a half ago. I had no idea. People were making such a huge deal about it over social media. Oh, you could see AJ's ass. First of all, you couldn't. Second of all, how could you even see that? I couldn't see it myself. It was like, why are people picking this up? Anyway, Elias performs Heading to New Orleans as his next song, and he says, you got to ask yourself, what would Elias do? So everyone arrives at their destination in Albany, and then there's a plug for Elias's tunes, all the songs that he performed in this episode of Ride Along. Check them out on iTunes, which does not exist. I wish they did, but unfortunately, I don't believe so anyway. They do. So anyway, this is the Ballad of Elias and Balor Club, that edition of Ride Along. Overall, fun episode. Balor Club, obviously, a lot of fun stories to share. Great chemistry there. Elias is very entertaining as well. In character, but still fun to listen to him play songs and trash people and talk about his motivations as a performer, as a competitor. so on and so forth. So definitely check it out on the WWE Network when you get a chance. It's the Ballad of Elias and Balor Club, that edition of Ride Along from last Monday after Monday Night Raw. The clock's in about 22 minutes, so it's a bit on the longer side compared to most episodes of Ride Along, but it's entertaining nonetheless. So for next week's edition of WWE Network and Chill, whatever airs tonight after Raw, we'll be talking about right here on the show next Monday. In the meantime, in the between time, guys, you can find me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Also, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video. All that stuff is amazingly appreciated. And subscribe as well for more daily content. So, with all that being said, folks, have an awesome rest of your week. Enjoy Raw tonight. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.